Morning. It's Tuesday, October 10th, and there's so much going on in the world that's ugly, and some humorous things, but it's mostly ugly. And it's very difficult for me to choose topics these days, because there are many things I would like to discuss. Like, for instance, we have the war in Israel, and I've already ranted about that twice. So I'm not going to talk about that today. But it's a terrible situation that is ongoing, and I don't care how this war ends. I expect Israel will win. But there's damage. There's over 1,000 people dead on both sides. And how can the world sit back and look at that? And what's the justification for those who rally against Israel and stand with Hamas and Hezbollah and nations that treat their human beings worse than the occupied territory that Israel supposedly has? Right? So I don't really want to talk about that today. And then going on in the United States, we have more than 25,000 U.S. auto workers who are not working. They're on strike at assembly plants and distribution centers all over the country. And they don't have any tentative agreement in sight. And there are many additional workers who are ready to join those picket lines because the auto industry and the United Auto Workers can't come together and create a tentative agreement or something that will end this strike. I don't really want to talk about that also, but I bring you up to date. The workers at Mack Trucks rejected the tentative agreement that they offered. So the union's stated bargaining goals at Mack are similar to all the goals that were being asked by the workers at the three major auto factories, or so to speak, General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis. And they can't come to agreement. And how long are they on strike right now? Seems like around 60 days or so. So nothing's getting done. And I agree with the workers. They're entitled to improved wages and health care and pension benefits. And we all know what the situation is with the electric cars coming into the world and everything. So that's a dire situation, but I'm not going to talk about that either. I just quickly mentioned that it still exists, and we can't overlook it. But what I think I really want to talk about is Vladimir Putin and the Ukraine. And Vladimir Putin is probably jumping up and down and smiling and dancing in his closets or wherever he dances, because the U.S. has stopped funding to the Ukraine in this last stopgap measure. And he's happy. He has openly admitted, that the West is going to abandon Ukraine. And that will make it much easier for him to take over the country. So is that what we're about? We're going to abandon Ukraine because it's costing us a couple of bucks? We're in debt up to our eyeballs now. What's a few $1 billion more or less to save hundreds of thousands of lives and to put a dictator in the place where he definitely stands, at the back of the pile, at the other end of the pile? So why? Why is this a big deal in this country? We piss more money away than any other nation. We don't watch the money that we distribute. So here, this is a valid cause, and we have a dictator who's pointing his finger at us and saying they'll back out, and as soon as they'll back out, Ukraine will collapse. And I will have won. I will have won the battle. And where will the battle stop at that point? Do you think that Vladimir Putin will be satisfied in his quest to reestablish the USSR? No. So if he's not put in his place now, he won't be put in his place. And he'll get those other little nations like Belarus and everything to continue helping him out. That's not what we want to do. He's looking over our shoulder and laughing at us. So we all know what ex-President Donald Trump said. He boasted that if he were re-elected, he would have ended the war in the Ukraine in 24 hours. Now, Putin is not that bold. His statements are less ambitious. If things go his way, the war will be over in a week. And so those are the remarks that he made at the annual meeting of the Vlad Discussion Club. That's a club that is friendly to Putin and his Russian compatriots. And Putin predicted that the Ukraine would collapse if the West turns off the taps of military and economic assistance. So this is no laughing matter. This is not something that I am making up out of my blue sky here. Putin has said these things openly, and he believes them. He believes that if we abandon the Ukraine, they will fold up like an accordion. But I know that Ukraine's going to fight and fight and fight. And if we force them into a situation where they cannot continue, and by we, I am not talking about the United States only. I am talking about the coalition of Western governments, the G whatever it is. We need to stand by Ukraine. Putin has said Ukraine can't exist without external support. And once you stop this, we'll be finished. This deal will be finished in a week. You have no defense system that can put me out of business, he has said. You will only have to live a week if you give up supporting Ukraine. So there, those remarks are clearly the way Putin thinks. He has articulated his strategy on the Ukraine. He's going to keep going after them. He's counting on the Western alliance that backs Ukraine to fracture. And the longer the war grinds on, the better chance he has of winning on a fractured Western alliance. That says something terrible about the way we are being portrayed in this event. And it's our own fault, because we put limits on what the Ukraine could do with the weapons we were supplying. We did not send them any killer weapons, because we wanted to preserve life in Russia. But we needed to do that. We needed to send them killer weapons. We needed to have some strikes take place in the heart of Russia, so that people might revolt. They might kick Putin out of office, because we're not doing enough to get rid of him. And so that's the last thing I'll talk about today, is the situation in Ukraine, which is not getting fixed in 24 hours as Trump predicted, and it's not getting fixed in a week either. It's going to go on for a long time, and we cannot abandon a democratic country in the middle of a mess. So have a great day. I'll see you in the morning. Bye.
Thank you.